All right, welcome to another episode of Real Estate vs. Technology. I'm your host, Norman Kinsey. Dan Gandy as our co-host. Welcome, Dan.
Glad to be here.
Awesome, welcome. And today we have a very special guest. This individual has some crazy energy. You got to check him out. His links are below, and I automatically gravitated to him. And I would want to say he gravitated to me, but we'll find out more about that in the episode. But we have Aaron Martinez on the show, and he's with a company that helps you really maximize your video, YouTube. So you have to learn all more about that. So Aaron, welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology.
Dude, thanks so much for having me. It's funny. Like I very rarely find somebody that like matches my energy. And like when you sent me that, voice message, I told you, when you sent it, I was literally going to send you a message too. And it's just like, it was kind of the back and forth, and it made, a bunch of sense to jump on here. So I'm stoked to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Hey man, same page. And for the viewers and listeners out there, voice to message is amazing on Instagram, and also video. So that's how Aaron and I were rocking and rolling. And now Dan's in the mix. He gets to learn a little bit about Aaron as well. Yep. And we'll learn all about Revamped Real Estate, what you do there. I love the fact that you're pushing video content, YouTube content. I see the plaque behind you, which is phenomenal. So let's kind of get into your story really quick before we get into like the actual meat and potatoes about the company and the actual value for our viewers and listeners for today's episode. So tell us how long you've been in the business and what made you get into like, hey, let's serve this real estate industry and let's do what I'm doing today. Like what was like the beginning to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it condensed as much as I can. So my background is in video and marketing. I'm 26 now. I first got into I uploaded my first video on YouTube when I was like 13, and after I did that, I was hooked, right? And I was I think a sophomore in high school. And, I just fell in love with, at the time, it was a lot of like gaming stuff, right? Because at the time I was a little bit younger. Now esports is like absolutely like exploded. But that's really where it all started. And then from that, I was able to get, this side, the 100,000 subscriber button from YouTube. That channel I was able to grow from 0 to about 170,000 subscribers in like right over a year.
Wow.
And it was talking about Snapchat. I don't know if you guys remember Snapchat, but it kind of came and gone really quickly. But at the time, I became really like one of the only people that was talking about like how to use Snapchat. Like anyone that's listening to this, like you might remember like my face, or like I was a lot younger at the time, obviously. But from there, obviously still doing the YouTube stuff. I was able to actually do a collaboration with a lot of realtors' favorite company, Zillow. And from there, that's how I jumped into into the real estate side. And then ever since, I worked with a local company, they're a pretty large company, helped them with their video marketing, branding, social media. And then after working there for about 2 or 3 years, I was like, you know what, I can probably do this by myself, right? I can either stay a salaried employee, or I can, help thousands upon thousands of agents. And that's what we've been able to do over the past couple of years.
I love that. And kudos to you, hats off to you as far as like saying, okay, I could do this at scale instead of staying at one location for, so many years. It's like, well, I could just be anywhere and everywhere, especially with video and online. It's amazing. So good job, man. That's awesome. So how long have you been doing what you've been doing with Revamped so far?
Yeah, so Revamped Real Estate as a company has been around only for about 1.5 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. But in terms of like me doing like my own thing, we were mostly we were doing like Facebook ads, Instagram ads for realtors, and like branding and things like that. I've been doing that for about 3.5 years.
Wow, that's awesome. And you're located in Virginia, I believe?
Yep, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Awesome, fantastic. Yeah, that's huge. And so last question until we get into actually more of like Dan's questions, learning a little bit more, adding a lot of value for our viewers and listeners today. Give us, what's the best part about doing what you do working at Revamped Real Estate?
Yeah, man. I think it's something that I think about a lot because I get that question a lot. It's like, what's the favorite part? And it's like, there's so many great things about it. Yeah. But I think, when I look back, when I first started doing like the entrepreneurship stuff, right, starting my own thing, it was, I was really focused on like doing what everybody else was doing, right? I thought I had to like run Facebook ads for realtors and do this whole thing. But, there's a conversation I had with a mentor of mine about, a year and a half ago when, this, Revamped kind of came to light. Yeah. And it was, the conversation we had was like, hey, like, why aren't you doing YouTube? Like, you've been on YouTube for the past 10, 15 years. Why aren't you teaching realtors to do that? And my thought process was like, well, no one else is doing it. And then it was like, in that moment, I was like, wait, no one else is doing this, but I'm really good at it. So let me, let's jump into that. So to answer your question, it's just being able to do like what I love and have loved for the past 10, 15 years and like getting paid to do that. It's like, I never feel like I'm actually working because I'm just talking about making videos and using YouTube. So that's my favorite part.
Dude, man, kudos to you. And that's why we love doing what we do here at Real Estate First Tech, because we can give people behind the scenes, a little bit of information, a little bit more context behind Aaron outside of just always leading by value, which of course, if you lead by value, by default, they're gonna be like, who is this guy? Hear me the story.
This guy has a crazy suit, but who the heck is he?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go ahead and change up the camera angle, get more focus on the speaker. Dan, go ahead and take it away for the mix-up round.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a little bit different than our normal agent interview. So let's deep dive into content and video. And as a real estate agent myself, like, what do you think is the most powerful piece of advice you can give real estate agents when they're wanting to go from 0 to 60 when getting into video marketing?
Video or YouTube specifically?
Let's talk YouTube.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So I think, there's a ton of tips and tricks that I would give, but I think, and I'm going to take just a page out of the generic book of just like staying consistent with something long enough. I probably have 10, 15 conversations like with different agents every single day. And, I always ask like, what do you feel like has held you back from like reaching the goals that you told me that you wanted to? And then we start to like reverse engineer like all the things that they've tried, right? They've tried TikTok, they've tried Instagram, they've tried, posting videos on, all over the place. They've tried Zillow leads. They've tried, all these different companies, but then they haven't stuck with it like for a long enough a period of time. So I think just having those expectations set correctly when it comes to YouTube is important. And knowing that like, because the content always lives out there and people are searching for it, like you will, like, there's no doubt you will see success on YouTube because people are searching for it, Yeah.
No, that's good. And I see that evergreen approach versus instant gratification approach.
Yeah.
With real estate agents, it's going to get to peel back like, hey, you're going to put some time into this. It's going to be a long-term play. And if you stay consistent with it, like you said, you're going to see the returns on it. But if you just do 3 or 4 videos and then say what happened, it's not gonna come to fruition.
It's like you're on these calls with me.
No, I get it totally. And then in terms of Instagram, like short, whatever we call it, short form video, vertical format video, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
What would you say is like maybe the top 2-3 tips you could give somebody when trying to dominate as an Instagram realtor?
Yeah, I was actually did a presentation a couple weeks back about like short form video, which is interesting because I focus a lot on the long form side. But I think like the main difference is the way that the video is structured, and more importantly, like just at the beginning of the video. Because I think like especially when we're talking about like 10, 15, 20-second clips, I scroll, like all my friends on Instagram and Facebook are mostly realtors, and like every time I scroll, I'm like, no, don't do that. Scroll. No, you could have done this better. So I think the one thing that I would say is like just making sure to grab attention as quickly as possible, right? So cut out the, hey, what's going on? This is Aaron from ABC Real Estate, #1 realtor in the area, ranked number 6 on like whatever, right? This whole this whole long intro that everyone loves to throw in, and just jump straight into it, right? Like when you start a video, literally the first thing out of your mouth should be, what benefit is that person going to get out of it, right? So here are the 5 tips of how to get pre-approved for a loan, or here are the 3 things you need to do to get your offer accepted, or whatever that content is, right? It needs to grab their attention of what that person's going to get out of it. And then you can maybe spend some time on like, hey, my name is Aaron, blah, blah, blah. But even like, I was doing some research on it too. And any like really successful like viral video, we'll say like viral TikTok or reel or anything, like 9.9 times out of 10, like they don't even mention themselves. They don't say their name. They don't say the company they're with. It's just about the content, about the value, and like giving that person entertainment. So I think that's just something to keep in mind when creating,
And I want to get it kind of into, it's not controversial, but I want to get into kind of something I see as a real estate agent. I love the memes. I love the theatrical comedy that some real estate agents are doing, but I feel like it's a short fuse, right? Like, everyone jumped on the bandwagon. Now they're doing all these like funny videos. And as a real estate agent or investor, my clients, they're not into that, right? I'm attracting the wrong persona by trying to be funny.
Dude, it's so funny you said that. Like, we're almost the same person, thinking we're gonna be best friends. Because like, I love, like, if you follow, like, if we're friends on Facebook, like, you'll see like all I post is like, basically like, not like saying negative things about realtors, but just like talking about these things that like they're basically doing wrong. Like the presentation I did was 10 mistakes you're making on social media right now. And one of the things that, I mean, directly what you're talking about, which is kind of like a layer deeper, is I think where realtors are going wrong is that they're just like marketing 101. They're very confused on their ideal client. Right. And what I mean by that is there's very different videos that you're going to make if you are a real estate agent looking to generate buyers and sellers, or a real estate agent that's looking to be an influencer. Right. Because if we make, like you said, like the memes, or like I saw one, it was like making fun of a buyer. It's like, number one, a buyer's not going to resonate with that. They're going to think that you're making fun of them. And then like the only ones that understand like the verbiage and like the way that you're playing it is another realtor. Right. So it's like that people are playing into this, like, let me be funny, let me dance, let me point to these words. But at the same time, it's like, they're just not clear with that ideal client. In turn, they're going to do it for a little bit and then not going to get leads from it. They're not going to make money. And then they move on to the next thing, you know?
That's, we see it in all different aspects of the industry, because there is a low barrier of entry, right? There's no required bachelor's degree. Like, you don't have to go to video class and get a certification. And a lot of people jump on, and there's a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good things. Let me preface it that. But what I do see is a lot of people jump on Clubhouse. A lot of people crowd around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 influencers. And then they like rinse and repeat and duplicate and kind of go through the Gary Keller model, which is like, oh, if I just do what they're doing, I'm going to have 15,000 followers. And
but do those followers even equate to what you want, right? Because that's what, like, that's where a lot of people are messing up, is they're like, oh, well, this person has like 40,000, like, great example. I love, Broke Agent. Like, he's like fantastic, like the content that they post, but that type of like, that's really great to attract realtors, right? Because it's like, they understand all that stuff. But then like, if a realtor tries to take that content and like rip off, duplicate, post it, it's like, yeah, they're going to like maybe get other agents, but is that what they want? Right. Yeah. And then when it doesn't turn into like, transactions, they're like, oh snap, this doesn't work, on to the next,
Yeah.
No, I think it's, and let's touch into one more topic, which is authority building, right? Being an expert, knowing your target market, and then working backwards and kind of designing a blueprint and a video game plan that reflects what your customers want to hear or are interested in hearing. So what would you advise your customers or your clients to build that progression of success?
I'll touch specifically on the YouTube side, because I think it goes directly into like to that very topic of for those that are listening that don't know that YouTube is basically Google, right? They're combined. They're basically the same company. Is that there's people that are looking for these things, right? Like, they're searching for, and some of the most successful videos will say that we're seeing in some of these markets, the pros and cons of living in an area. What is the cost of living? Where should they live? What are some of the, top neighborhoods, things like that. And like, because people are actively searching for those things, the ones that like watch those videos, they're there for a reason. They're not just like scrolling through, we call it disruption-based marketing with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Like, most often people are scrolling on there with no real intention behind it. But when people are on YouTube, it's like a lot of times, especially when they're searching for these specific things, like, it's such a specific type of keyword that they wouldn't just be looking that up if there was an interest to actually move there. Yeah. Like, it's different from like living in Virginia Beach as opposed to like visiting Virginia Beach, right? Those two people are very different. So I think just back to your question is like, as long as you understand like who's the content you're creating, right? And it's those videos as an example. All you really have to do is like talk from like, as generic as it says, like talk from the heart, right? A lot of these videos aren't, they're not too analytical, right? The thing that I always remind people is like, you don't have to pull up, Google Maps and do all this, like, this research. It's just like, you've lived in the area for 10, 15 years. what are your favorite things about it? What are the things that you don't like so much about it? Right. And when you can like just talk about that stuff, like that's what people want to see, not necessarily like, the market update or, the, all the stuff that we love to, that we love to create.
So true.
No, that's all good, man. There's a lot of good nuggets from there. Last thing, I know I said last thing last time, but
last thing.
I think with YouTube and understanding SEO and search engine optimization, what would you say if somebody is new to this? Is there a book or like a video course or or do they come talk to you? Like where do you see educating them or self-educating them?
Yeah. So actually, I mean, a plug to our YouTube channel, like if people search up the real estate marketing guys, we literally go over like all that stuff. I mean, it's YouTube, it's free, right? There's actually a video that I did relatively recently, maybe a month ago, that literally just talks about like the first step into YouTube. And that is like making sure that you are creating the content around like your right market. Not to get too detailed into or too deep into it, but there's a tool that we use that it's called Keywords Everywhere that basically pulls up like the amount of people that are searching for these keywords. And the main piece of it is you need to find the market that's near you, that you serve, obviously, that has relatively high search volume and low competition. And what that is like the perfect scenario that like allows you to rank really easily, like within, 24, 48 hours. Because, they're not, there isn't a ton of competition. Where a lot of realtors are kind of struggling is like they're posting, whether it's like really high search volume, but high competition, for example, how to buy a house, how to get pre-approved, right? It's like you're competing with literally every other real estate agent that's making videos, or it's like too low search volume, too low competition, where you're like, yeah, there's no competition, but like no one's searching for it, AKA the address of a listing video, right? So when you fit in that scenario between, it might not be, your small city outside of Houston, right? Because I mean, Houston is a massive area. There's a bunch of smaller areas around that. So the difference between, and this is getting really technical, but this will save a lot of like headache and a lot of like heartache is, even if you are outside of Houston, if it's close enough, you still need to make videos about pros and cons, cost of living, where to live in Houston. And then what that does is, there's whatever arbitrary number, 4,000 people searching a month for Houston, is they're going to come to your channel. They're going to see the videos that you've made about Houston. And then when you have pros and cons, cost of living about these other micro markets that don't have as much search volume, but you can be the one to educate them. Hey, Houston's great, but you can live in this city 20 minutes and get the exact same amount of more house for the same price. Like you become the authority in that person's eyes, and they're going to reach out to you every time.
Love it.
Wow.
I felt that was really good. I don't know.
You're in your flow state, bro. You're in your flow state. I absolutely love that. Thanks so much, Dan, for taking on that mix-up round.
Welcome.
And just kind of unpacking it a little bit for the viewers and listeners out there. The biggest thing that I think I took away from that mix-up round before we go to the last questions and have the floor be open to you, Aaron, is that you have to be intentional. And you could say segment intent or whatever the case may be. And it's not so much following the leader. I mean, we had Matt, the Seeing Realtor, that was on our podcast, and he's great, right? And now he's working with the broke agent, which is great. But the broke agent's going to be attracting a lot of broke agents. And nothing against him, but that's what he's attracting. Just like if you're an agent out there and that you want to do video, I love it because Dan is prime example, exit agents. He's up in Oregon. He's doing more of like his target demographic of people looking to exit out, right? Or investors. So his swag is going to be different than Aaron's swag or Janie's swag, who basically has a completely different niche or approach or whatever. So for the agents out there, don't just follow the leader, get more intentional and get more focused on specifically, why are you doing the video? Not just because you think it's trending and then you're going to hit viral and then still you're going to be up shit's creek because who knows what type of business you're going to get or who could take you down this who knows how long road before you finally get to actually transact with someone. So that's what I took from the mix-up round. I appreciate all the information, Aaron, because that's what we want to do. We want to lead by value here and give as much information as possible for our viewers and listeners. So let's talk data. Let's get into a little bit more deep with data. So give us a case study from someone that you worked with that you said, okay, these are the videos that you need to film. You need to be more intentional based off what we just talked about. And what was some success that you've seen working with an agent based off of you saying, take this approach, be more deliberate and focused. And then you saw what?
Yeah, so I'll give two examples. It'll be quick. So the first one is actually a guy we're working with. His name is John. He's down in Florida. I forgot exactly what area. But he lives down in Florida. He actually became an agent last year, so the beginning of 2020, and then he kind of took a little bit of time off because of COVID, and he also had like other business venture. But he really got ramped up with us probably last October. He didn't really start seeing like a ton of results because he wasn't super consistent until about November. But this year alone, just YouTube. He doesn't really know how to use TikTok. If he listens to this, and he'll that I'm messing with him. He doesn't post a ton of stuff on Facebook, but just from his YouTube channel alone. And here's the crazy part: he only has, because it's a smaller, like it's a new construction like community. I think he's about to pass 400 subscribers, but from his YouTube channel alone, like attributed, he will finish his like first like calendar year of real estate all from YouTube with over 350,000 GCI. Wow. He'll close his, this was like 2 weeks ago. He had closed 32 transactions just from his YouTube channel. So he has a couple more to close here at the end of the year. And then actually another person we were working with, actually, no, we'll skip that one because it's in Florida as well. My business partner, Brett, he's in Nashville. This just plays directly to the fact that you don't necessarily have to post like 5 times a week. He posts, so in the past 10 months, he's posted 7 videos. He's like a super part-time realtor. I mean, we're running this side of the business, but we created a channel. You can go back into our, we did a Facebook group, or a Facebook group live. This was probably like last year, right? A year ago. And we said, hey, we're going to create this case study of, we're going to make the channel, he's licensed in the area. We're just going to make the channel to show that it works. We only have 7 videos on the channel. The first video that we uploaded at this point has like 20,000 views, completely organic, no ads, anything. Wow. And that video is attributed to over, I think 12 million in closed sales. The channel total, I think, is well over, I don't know, like 15, 16 million closed deals in the past year. 7 videos. And he's like super inconsistent. And if he's listening to this, like he's going to, like, I tell him all the time, like, hey, let's make more videos, because you can only imagine like what else could come from it when but it's just, that's the thing with YouTube, is there isn't a ton of people that are, well, now it's definitely getting more competitive. But at the time, right, a year ago, there was nobody in his market. And almost every single market that we go into has 1, 2, 3 people that are doing it. But when you take that in comparison to the 2,000 that are still doing stuff in your market on TikTok, the 1,000 people that are on Facebook, doing the exact same thing, the couple hundred people that are buying Zillow leads, right? It's like, it's such a minute difference in terms of the competition in these markets.
I love that. And speaking of competition, at the end of the day, for anyone listening out there, everyone's like, well, if I use you and, you do something for the same person in the same market that I have, I'm like, well, you're different. Your personality, your stories, everything's different. So I can imagine in the future, it's like they find 10 videos, the same topics of like 5 best reasons why you'd move to Florida or whatever it is. And then you just like, first one, I don't like that person's personality. Second one, that personality is a little bit, a third one, oh my God, I love this person. And then it's just like, you're going to pick based off personality from the video. I could see that for the future. So dude, viewers and listeners out there, that's huge, 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 huge. Like, got to get on YouTube, got to get more deliberate with your video content. So that's some really awesome case studies. So last couple of questions from me. Is there anything new that you're working on for the viewers and listeners to stay tuned for Revamped Real Estate?
Actually, yes.
All right.
So I can give some details, but not anything too crazy. So one of the things that we, that we get a lot when we have conversations, because I mean, for us to completely like take over someone's YouTube channel, do all the graphics, do all the editing, all the uploading, like it's not $200 a month, So for the ones that, are wanting a little bit more hand holding and something that's a little bit more pay as you go and like per transaction. I just need to take my real estate exam. I've already done all the tests and stuff, and it'll make it legal so that someone wants to work with us and they want to, hey, we'll build out your channel, we'll do everything. And you don't have to pay until you actually close a deal. Like that's something that we're working on. Nice. So I'll have a lot more freedom once I have my exam, or once I have my real estate license. So that's one thing. And then there's just so many other, one other small thing is like we're this is probably going to launch like next year. But with YouTube, because it's like, again, like we said earlier, YouTube's directly into Google, like it's connected to Google. And, a lot of people where they go wrong when they're trying to build out their websites for SEO is they try to attack all these keywords that are super competitive. So real estate agent insert market, right? Real estate agent near me, all that kind of stuff. Because you're competing with Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, Redfin, not to mention the hundreds of thousands that they're putting like into their advertising. So we are working on more of like a blog type thing to where like, and what we've seen with some of the tests that we're doing is like, we can have like almost a brand new website, and really little content and still rank like within the first page of Google within just like 2 months. So that's something that'll be kind of like in conjunction with the YouTube side, because you still want to have the video, upload it onto the blog site and things like that. Not to get too nerdy, but it'll just be like just kind of like in tandem with the YouTube side that'll make it just more powerful.
Wow. Good. That's huge. That's awesome. So last question I have for me to close out the show before we open up the actual floor to you, so you can leave our viewers and listeners with some golden nuggets before we end here, is technology. Technology, it's controversial, real estate versus tech. Technology disrupting the classic way of marketing for real estate professionals. Do you see with video and everything happening in the marketplace now that maybe the traditional ways of marketing may start to dwindle off, and now this new way of marketing is going to be more like the new social norm? Like, what do you see in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always going to be like these old school ways of marketing, right? Like cold calling and calling expireds and, all that kind of stuff. But I think like more importantly, what it is going to, the difference that it's going to make is maybe not necessarily like those two things against each other, but more of like, okay, you're a real estate agent and now you're competing with all these other real estate agents that have like the high tech stuff, right? And I'll give you a direct example. Is like, I have my local, my local channel. I don't say that I'm a realtor. I just, I basically phrase it as like, hey, here's the pros and cons, here's the cost of living. And I do all the same stuff. And for me, it's like, we probably like the referral agent that I have here is probably closing about 5 to 7 deals a month from the things that I'm sending to them. And people are reaching out to me like I'm the expert. I don't have no idea how to perform a real estate transaction, like no idea at all. But what that should show people is like, you don't have to like it is getting to the point where it's not so much about your expertise within real estate, but more about like who's going to show up in front of that person more, right? And I know that like that's my superpowers. I can just show up in front of people, and perception is reality. The more they see me talking about real estate, that positive association in their head is like, well, Aaron is like always in front of me and he's talking about real estate. He must know what he's doing. When in reality, I don't. So, and that's why I have the partners that I partner up with. So I don't think it's going to ever like, completely change over. There's always going to be the ones, maybe in the next, 50 years when all the TikTokers are, now a little bit older. But anytime soon, I don't think so. I think it's just taking advantage of these things to like get ahead while you can. And then, build up that presence. So in the next 20, 30 years, you already have that built, as opposed to trying to play catch up. Wow.
I love that. Perception is reality. I'm I have to write that down. That really caught my attention. I was like, okay, I really gotta. I like that.
Yeah, a lot. I think it's someone's because I put this in I think I heard on a podcast or something. But it's like a person's perception is their reality, right? So like another example is I filmed this like listing video a couple weeks back. Just like it was more of like a new construction tour of this house, and when I'm going to start posting that out there, and people are going to say, hey, can you do that same thing for us? And it's like, for sure. Like if you want to list your house, we'll do this free video for you. Yeah. And when people are just continuously seeing you, it's like you can either be the person that's like always talking about real estate behind closed doors and you're a secret agent, or you can like use those things to your advantage and say like, hey, like I'm out and doing this listing video, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and like showing people that.
Yeah. Lead with value, right? I mean, at the end of the day, just do. Less talking, more doing. So, man, that's awesome. This is a jam-packed, amazing episode. I'm going to go ahead and let the floor be open to you. Change the camera angle. So, spotlight's on you, Aaron. What do you want our viewers and listeners to take from today's episode?
Yeah, man, I think, and we pretty much just touched on it, but the YouTube side of things, even in the past 6 to 9 months, we've seen a like massive amount of agents jumping into it. Like if I was researching a year ago, I knew that we can go into a market, and if we uploaded 3 to 4 videos, we'd take it over instantly. Like no questions asked. Now it's very much so kind of like what you said is like, being consistent enough to like reach that first page, and then the person's going to make their decision based on the personality, right? Someone that comes to YouTube, they're a little bit more mellow, they're a little more laid back, I guess, maybe if we put it that way, like they're not going to like my videos. I just like, I talk too quickly. I smile too much. Like they're not going to like me. So like you said, it just staying consistent with it, doing it long enough, jumping into it and just jumping in, right? Because we touched on it earlier too. The difference here, guys, is like evergreen content. Brett, like my business partner, like he can stop, he hasn't uploaded a video in 2 months and he still gets 4 to 5 people reaching out every single week saying, hey, we saw your video. Can you help me list my house? Can you help me find a house? I'm moving to the area. And that's extremely powerful, right? Like I want everyone that's thinking that if you're consistent on Facebook or, on TikTok or Instagram, if you stopped posting today, would your business continue? And if the answer is no, that's a scary place to be, right? The second thing is, are you paying Zillow and Realtor.com and Trulia and Redfin? Because what happens if you stop paying? Guess what? The leads are done. Yeah. So build something that is going to stay sustainable. And that the only thing that we've been able to find that does just that is YouTube. It's evergreen. It always lives there. People are always searching for the stuff. If not more as the years go through, as more people do research about specific areas.
Wow, man. Aaron, thank you so much for being on Real Estate vs. Tech. This is absolutely amazing, jam-packed. I love the fact that you speak and talk faster because we can get more out there in a short amount of time. We had a hard cutoff at 11:30, and it is 11:30. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Perfect timing.
I know, right? Dan always is. We appreciate you being our co-host. Thanks so much for coming in, and
Thanks,
like to have good co-hosts that are in the industry, that are leading by example. And of course, thank you all to our viewers and listeners, as it is our intention for you to take things from our episodes to apply to your business, have more massive success, and we will see you on the next one.
You made it to the end. Well, thank you so much for watching Real Estate vs. Technology. We hope you found value, especially something you can apply to your real estate business. If you could do us a favor, we would appreciate it. A thumbs up. If you subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified for new episodes coming out, and comment below. What the heck did you learn? If you want to join our Facebook group page, there's a link right here. And if you want to be featured on Real Estate vs. Technology, send us a DM on our Instagram page. We'll see if we get you on the show. So, take care. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.